The following is a Hoop Ball presentation.
Good morning, Hoop Ballers, and welcome to another edition of Hoop Balls DFS Today. This is your January 9th, 2021 edition on Saturday, and I am Santino and I will be your host tonight, and I am joined with the awesome Aaron Asmus. Aaron, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. This week has just been an absolute nightmare with trying to predict late news. It seems like every major decision point was at the 7 o'clock game, so trying to sift through everything. And I don't envy the guys who were on content this week because it was kind of a nightmare.
Yeah, there has been a lot of news, a lot of late breaking news. Probably the biggest one this week was Paul George, after lineups locked, randomly got rested, or not rested, I guess. He was listed out with an ankle injury. That was probably the biggest one that was just out of nowhere. He wasn't on the injury report all day, and it just came out of nowhere after lock. So that was kind of obnoxious. But yeah, you're right. There's a lot of shaking news lately. And before we get into that, we're not even going to get into the showdown slate. We're just going to pass that and go right to the other thing and say Philadelphia, we don't know exactly what's going on there. We just know Curry and Embiid at the very least are out. We don't know who else is going to be out. That's something that you definitely have to keep an eye on. And Denver played Dallas, who also had someone test positive for COVID today. So we don't know what's going to happen with them. And we're just going to leave that alone. Spend some time there. If you're on our Discord or whatnot, you can ask us questions when we get more information. But at this time, it's kind of just shooting shots in the dark. And whatever we say, even an hour from now, after we're done recording, might change because that's what it happens in scenarios like this.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, we can go through every little scenario, but when there's 4 to 5 guys potentially who might be out, it's kind of just ends up being a waste of time. So the best advice you can give is get in the Discord and be ready for the news if you want to play that showdown slate or the all-day slate.
And luckily, it's a showdown slate when we have a 7-game main slate. So I wouldn't expect too many lineups or too much exposure to that showdown when you have a nice 7-gamer.
Exactly.
Yeah, and before we get into it, man, I do want to shout out you, man. Where can everybody find you on Twitter?
Yeah, I'm at Asmus Sports on Twitter, ASMUSSPORTS.
Awesome. And just to let you guys know, before we get into it, and I talked to you about my friends over at MyBookie, here at the DFS division of Hoopball, we are recruiting. We are looking for more people to help out, whether it's behind the scenes, whether it's more articles, whether it's Discord stuff, getting on podcasts, whatever the case. We're looking for people. We're looking for contributors. So if you think you got what it takes and you want to join the team, please reach out to myself on Twitter at Santino Cacone. Reach out to Mike at Mike Apatria. Reach out to Dan at Dan Bespris. If you haven't noticed, we have a very vanilla plain Twitter names over here. Aaron Asmus Sports is a good one there, but the other three of us are very just our name with the @ sign in front. We're looking for more. Yeah, and we're looking for more people. Eventually, we want to expand it. I know people like FanDuel. We want to expand it into both. But right now, we're sticking to DraftKings, and we're also sticking with MyBookie. And if you guys haven't heard us talk about it already, I don't know what you're listening to. But ever since I started this podcast, I do get a lot of people ask me, where do you bet? Where do you get your tips? Where do you get your lines and stuff? I say MyBookie, and they are awesome. I just played in the casino earlier today. But they're the only place I trust to handle my NBA-related bets, and the one sportsbook guaranteed to give me the best lines for the national championship college football game in a couple nights, guys, just on this coming Monday, or every NFL playoff game, which is coming today. You know me, and if you know I don't give my stamp of approval easily, so you got to earn it. And MyBookie is the best sportsbook out there, in my opinion, period. It's simple. Sign up, enter the promo code HOOPBALL, that's HOOPBALL, and get your deposit matched halfway up to $1,000. So head on over to MyBookie if you want to add a little excitement to your sports and the games you love to bet on. So bet with the best guys, bet with my bookie. And let's get right into this nice 7-game slate, Aaron. With the first game we got here is a 7 p.m. start. We have 3 at 7, 2 at 8, 1 at 8:30, and then we just got a lone later at 10 o'clock, all by itself that we can watch if you're still up. I know you'll be up on the West Coast. I'll see what I'm doing at 10 o'clock. But that first game is Atlanta at Charlotte, a rematch, which we continue to see on a daily basis pretty much. This spread, and by the way, there's only 4 spreads for this 8-game slate or 7-game slate in Denver, Philly, if you want to count all, because there are back-to-backs. Denver, Philly, no one knows what's going on there with the COVID situation, and there are 3 back-to-backs. So we only have 4 current spreads, and this is one of them. Charlotte is +4 home dogs, and the over-under on this one is 210. Or 220, my bad. So sticking with that, Aaron, let's start with Atlanta. We saw Trae Young put up a dud. We saw John Collins be a little better. And we saw John Collins and Trae Young apparently having friction there. What do you make of that situation, and what do you make of these guys going into this game?
Yeah, I mean, this is, I think, right off the bat here, I think this is a game we want to heavily target. Both these teams are not very good defensively at all. The Hornets have kind of proven me right from what I've been saying all season, where their offense actually looks pretty good, but they can't stop anybody. Melo Ball is just going absolutely nuts. So they're kind of a competitive team. They're kind of one of those sneaky teams where I don't think they're exactly good, but they're good enough to put up enough points for teams attacking them that you actually want to target against the Hornets. And in terms of the beef, I did see that. It's going to be one of those things where the Hawks, they drafted, a young big man with the 6th pick. They committed to Clint Capella after they traded for him. They just spent a bunch of money on Gallinari. And they didn't extend John Collins. So, and this is just Trae's team. It's just the way it's going to be. And, Trae's going to win that battle every time. So I don't know if there's going to be any fallout from it, but, the Hawks are set up pretty well if they want to move on from Collins and get some assets for him. We'll see. But in terms of this matchup, 9,400 for Trae, I think that's at a pretty significant discount from what we've been getting him at. He started the year getting up to over 10K for a couple of those matchups. And this is I don't really care about the dud. Just go right back to him. The Hornets do not have any sort of wing defenders to match him. And I think we can expect pretty close to full run here. So give me a lot of Trae Young. John Collins, 7,500. It's just a tough price tag for me. Him and Capella. The time to buy Capella was 2 or 3 games ago when he was 5,200, 5,500, 5,200, around that range. 7K. It's a great matchup. I understand maybe in tournaments if you want to go there. Maybe build a game correlation, something along those lines. But for cash games, Capella and Collins are out for me.
Yeah, and I'm with you there. We're 1 for 1. Trae Young, 9,400. I know he only took a few shots last game. He took 9. He made 2. He had 7 points. I think it was just you don't think I know what I'm doing, and you don't want me to run the offense. Let's see what happens. They only scored 94 points with him taking 9 shots, not being assertive. I think he goes back to what he has been doing and what was working for this team. And at 9,400, you're right. You're getting a slight discount than you got the last game, and you're getting nearly $1,000 discount than you were getting a couple games ago. So I like him at that price tag. And same as exactly what you said with Collins and Capella. Capella, now that he's up to 7K, there's not a lot of room for upside.
Nope.
When he was under 6K and around 6K, I liked it, but now he's teetering on his upside right there, being capped at 7K. And John Collins has been too inconsistent for me to want to pay 75. It's just I know he has the upside to get higher than that, but he hasn't. I think he's only topped his value twice at this price, so I'm okay with passing on him again. If I had to look at anybody else, the one guy who's been playing really well lately is Kevin Huerter. I wouldn't trust him too much, but in a GPP, I think he's a solid guy at 5.2. But I think it's just like you said, Trae Young and everybody else is secondary at this level.
Yeah, just the Atlanta Wings. I just never really know how to break them down. They're Bogdan all of a sudden Bogdanovich has only been 19 and 18 minutes the last couple games, and his role has just decreased by quite a bit, while Huerter has been ascending, and then Reddish and Hunter have kind of been in that 30-minute range the whole season. So, I mean, I don't know. I honestly don't know this.
And I think Hunter's pretty safe too, as more of a cash game guy. Not too much upside, but if you're spending 59, he's been regularly getting 30 points, and he's averaging just a shade under 31 fantasy points. So, like you said, it's usually for me it's hit or miss on these wings, and I try and stay away from them. But I think Hunter's the safest. Huerter has a little bit upside at that tag, and on any given night, it could be anyone else.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I had a better answer, but maybe if you're cycle these guys in game stacks and kind of just take the price point with the rest of your lineup. Maybe you can use these guys as a last piece. So if you need a $5,200 piece, you can plug in Huerter. If you have a little more money, plug in Hunter. If you need a cheaper punt, plug in Reddish, kind of a deal.
I like it.
Yeah.
And I did mess up the total on this when I said 220. It's 227. Brain fart there.
That sounds better. Yeah.
Yeah, a little brain fart there. I think I said 210 at first. And it's like, no, 220. Two brain farts. But let's go on to the Charlotte side. We see LaMelo Ball creeping up again. Now he's around 67. And we have Gordon Hayward rightfully priced at 82. Finally, last game he got over the 8K mark when I've been hammering that home. Like, this guy should not be this cheap. But we have those two guys and everybody else. Terry Rozier is coming back down to earth at 62. And then there's everybody else there. PJ Washington's almost at 6. But who do you like on this squad going up against this fast-paced Atlanta squad?
Yeah, I mean, Melo, let me double check real quick, but he was
almost at a triple-double tonight.
Yeah, he was flirting with the triple-double.
Big brother.
I mean, the dude is just dominating in limited minutes. I don't know how much longer they can kind of keep him, around this 23 to 25 minute range. Maybe because it was just, I don't know, but this is about pretty close to the matchup you want Melo in, where you're going to get a fast-paced game. You're going to get a lot of possessions, and he's going to be a big reason for that pace getting pushed. So I love Melo here at 6,700. I think he's going to be a really, really popular cash game building block piece. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see him starting over Devontae Graham or Terry Rozier, and it's just kind of an ideal spot. This is where you want to target Melo in these kind of games. Going down from that, PJ Washington is kind of, again, one of my favorite players this season, just to see him ascend. And he just does everything on the floor. These are the kind of spots where he could see some run at the 5 if John Collins ends up at the 5 a little bit during this game. And he's been getting a lot of run at the 5 just with the way the Hornets are configured right now. So PJ Washington still extremely reasonable, 5,900, and Melo Ball is 6,700.
Yeah, and I'm kind of with you. I think LaMelo Ball is pretty good price, pretty good value right now. But at 67, he's starting to creep up. I wouldn't take a chance on him too much in GPP. He's safer in cash, I think. But at 67, he's starting to creep up to where I'm like, you're getting into the territory that there's a lot of other guys that are a lot safer as well in here. So I think he's more of a GPP type, or no, cash type of play, but I don't know how too safe he is just because there's our other options, but he's playing great, and this is a good matchup for him. So I don't mind getting more exposure to him here. I don't mind the PJ Washington call. He hasn't been as productive as I would like lately, but this is a decent matchup for him. I think him and John Collins are similar, so I don't know if I'm going to target him too much. But I think for me, it's mainly LaMelo, and I wanted to play Gordon Hayward again, but now he's rightfully priced. So I think I'm going to look elsewhere. But I also don't mind if you're stuck and you go Gordon Hayward's way. This guy's just rock solid.
Yeah, I mean it's 8,200. That's priced really efficiently. It's definitely getting to the point where he's got to play his full run. He's got to be just about perfect for him to pay off that tag. But I mean, the dude has just had some monster usage performances these last few games and kind of the whole season. He looks a lot. He looks close to his Utah form, which is pretty cool to see. Yeah, I mean, again, I think he's probably more of a cash play, honestly, than tournaments. I don't know. I think the floor is pretty good, pretty dependable floor here, but you're kind of pushing it if you're expecting upside at 8,200.
And I think we're going to jump on to the next game. If I had to pick between him and the guy on Phoenix, Devin Booker, I'd rather go Gordon Hayward in this one just because I feel a lot safer with him. But we're going to jump to the next game. This has a spread as well. This over-under is 217, and the Pacers are 3-point favorites in this one. They're giving 3 to the Phoenix Suns, and this game starts at 7 also. So we're on the Phoenix side here. I just mentioned I would rather take Gordon Hayward over Booker with the $300 or the extra $300 there. A lot of things that I keep seeing when I get to this particular team. I think this is a very good basketball team. I think they're winning a lot of games. But every time I see their price tags, I think they're very efficiently priced. They're playing as a unit, a solid unit where there's no one guy doing everything. They have a lot of guys pitching in here, and night in, night out, I see these price tags and I say, I don't see the ROI that I want. I don't see the return in investment that I want here. So I'm going to usually pass. I'll give a look at two people here, or one person here in particular in campaign. I think 39 is cheaper. And Dario Saric, if you're looking for those cheap type of plays, if you think this is going to be more of a Saric game because this is a bigger opponent, you might have to play more minutes than possibly Cam Johnson in this one and be the direct backup to Jay Crowder because they are going up against a massive front court. So maybe I look at that and campaign. It's been pretty solid. There's a lot of multiple guard lineups in Indiana, three guard lineups they start with pretty much. So he might get a couple of minutes extra here in this one as well. But everybody higher than that, it's just these guys are playing great as a unit and no one's sticking out for their price tag. So I usually pass on them.
Yeah, couldn't have said it better. These guys they haven't shown the ceiling all season. Chris Paul, the last couple of slates has really popped well in projections, but he's this kind of. I mean, I couldn't have said it better. This team is just playing really great team basketball. They're a fairly deep team, and they're kind of just all sharing the usage, sharing the love. So I'm perfectly fine just passing.
Whatever's getting you W's, and that's what they want to get. They want to get into the playoffs.
Yeah. So. And
I know they lost in overtime to Detroit, but still. But yeah, I'll jump on to the Indiana side. It's who's kind of getting in a similar territory now, but they do have a lot more upside. That's the difference. They're very fairly priced. Everybody's priced accordingly, but they have the higher upside of the Phoenix Suns. And you're looking at a guy like Domantas Sabonis. He's going to have a very good matchup. At 91, I think there are other options around there too. But he is one of the guys I like. But though saying that if it's strictly dollar for dollar, I'd rather just go Trae Young at 300 more. But if we're looking at center options, he's in play there, though there are a couple other people that are also in play. Malcolm Brogdon, this guy's playing out of his mind right now, and he keeps climbing up and climbing up and climbing up in price. But the last 3 games, over 50 points over 50 DK points. He's taken 25, 18, and 18 shots. He's made 15 threes in 3 games, so 5 threes a game. He's just on fire right now, so I don't mind looking at him. I think this is a very tough matchup for him. The Suns are one of the better defensive teams right now, and they are also dead last in pace of play, dead last. So I downgrade a lot of guys on this Indiana team. I'm probably not going to have too much exposure to this game in general because it is one of the lowest of the spreads that we have. It's the second lowest over under, and the other one that we have is Dallas because we don't know who's exactly missing, in Orlando because they're just banged up. But this one I'm not going to have too much exposure on. But if I was going to look at somebody in particular, probably go, again, bargain bin hunting with Justin Holiday, just knowing that this guy's going to play a shade over 30 minutes, if not. And at 4,500, he's bringing back value the last 3 games, and I expect him to bring more value back in a 4th straight game.
Yeah, Sabonis and Brogdon, they were 2 guys we were really targeting earlier in the year, saying they were just underpriced, undervalued, just underrepresented. They're now more than efficiently priced at 9,100 and 8,400 respectively. I think you can still get a little meat off the bone at $7K for Oladipo. He's just been rock solid the last 6 games. 36, 36, 37, 34 in 34 minutes. It's exactly what you want to see. And he hasn't been shooting great either. He has a 3 for 16, a 6 for 20, a 5 for 14. And he's still getting you over 32, 33 fantasy points. So if you had to look at a play, I'd probably look at Oladipo just because I think he probably ends up closer to 8K by the end of the season if the trends continue here and just the way this Indy team is built without TJ Warren. But overall, this isn't really a great game environment. Everyone's kind of priced efficiently. I think we can attack better spots.
Yeah, and I like Oladipo. I'm not huge on him in this particular matchup against Bridges. I think his length is going to cause him slight problems. But yeah, I think that 7 price tag, I think you're right. You can still get a little bit of meat on the bone there as well. But let's jump on over to this next one. Game 3 already. Miami against Washington on the second night of a back-to-back for these guys. So let's start on Miami here. We have an over-under spread of, we don't have any because I just mentioned that earlier. A lot of these guys are on the second night of a back-to-back, so we're not going to be talking about that one. But let's start on the Miami side. Who are you feeling here? And brain fart again. I wasn't doing the early injury report earlier. So let me throw on a couple injuries there for you guys. We have on the Heat side, we have just Gabe Vincent and no one on the Warriors because they're not in yet. On the Pacers, we have the same people that we already know, and Doug McDermott's questionable. On the Suns, there is nobody on there yet. On the Hawks, everybody we already know. Bruno Fernando's probable. Gallinari and Rondo and Chris Dunn and Okongwu, they're all out. Nobody on the Hornets because they're on the back-to-back as well. That's where we are now. And let's start with the Heat. Who are you liking on this Heat? We see that Adebayo and Bam are getting, and Butler, Adebayo and Bam. It's just one of those nights. Jeez, I'm glad Mike's not here because he'd be making his corny jokes and the obnoxious laugh. But yeah, we have Adebayo at 8,500, Butler at 74, and then Tyler Herro's the next at 66, and then no one over 6. But where are you looking here? Can you go back to the well and Olynyk after that last one? And is there anybody else that's sticking out to you?
Yeah, unfortunately, Kelly O, this is about where he should be priced. DK, he had about 2 or 3 games where he was 3,900 and 4,400, where he was just probably the best value on the slate. And DK woke up and realized, he's a starter. He's playing, somewhere between 23 and 30 minutes at night. It's a great matchup, but it's just not a whole lot of value in that price tag for me. And the rest of the Heat this is a tough spot for me because I want to attack the Wizards every chance I get in their defense, and it's just always a pace-up spot. But the Heat seem very content to kind of play everyone around 30 minutes, 31 minutes, keep everyone, not really overextend anybody. So you're kind of hoping for a close game so you can get up to like 33, 34 Bam minutes or 33, 34 Jimmy Butler minutes. If you did that, I would love these price tags. Especially Jimmy at 7,400. He has point guard and small forward eligibility. That's fantastic. Bam. I look to attack Thomas Bryant every chance I get, and they're weak post interior defense. There's really good upside there. So I think these tags are just matchup based are very good, but there are I think there are real concerns with the blowout, especially with the Wizards on the second night of a back-to-back.
Yeah, and we're probably not going to have a Westbrook, but yeah, I like what you said there. I think Bam's price tag's pretty well. I like to go against people or target people against Thomas Bryant. I think we might find some better value at 85, but I think he's somewhat in play for me. But I do really like Jimmy Butler at this. I think we will see about 30 minutes of Jimmy Butler. This is the front end of the back-to-back, so maybe he doesn't play both of those games. We'll have to keep an eye out for that. But if he plays just one, and this is the one, he's going to play 30 or so minutes, and I really like this matchup at 7,400 for him. You mentioned I threw Kelly Olynyk at you, and yeah, it's always funny. I know he's starting, but it's always funny when some guy has an off game and they go up $900. Yeah. I always laugh at that. So yeah, I'm not too thrilled with him at that price tag either. But some guy I am giving some consideration to is Duncan Robinson. I don't always play this guy because he doesn't do too much outside of threes and shoot. Mm-hmm. But this is a matchup that he can get hot on, hot in and get hot in it. This team that he's facing just plays fast and gives up a ton of points. And that's what he wants to do. He wants to get open shots. And when he gets open shots, he can hit them. So at 47, I'll give this guy a look. I'm not going to lock him into my lineups, but he's going to definitely be in a few of them out there because I know he can get hot in this, and he can make this could be one of the games like Christmas Day where he makes 6+ threes. So him and Butler are the guys I'm targeting because it is a juicy matchup. I can't totally get away from them.
Yeah, I think Duncan's a great call in tournaments. He's kind of been one of the more secure minutes guys, which is a little surprising after Spo treated him last season, where he was kind of just Hero was his direct backup, and now they're playing a lot more of Hero and Duncan together on the floor, which really secures his minutes expectation. And yeah, that's a great call. There's going to be more possessions. It's a really big pace-up spot for the Heat. And really, it's kind of a binary outcome here for Robinson. If he's hitting his threes, he's going to stay on the floor, and he's got a great chance to just destroy this price tag.
Yeah, and then let's jump on over to the Wizards side of the ball. It's the back-to-back, so watching Westbrook news is key here. We don't have it. We're not going to have it yet, but definitely keep an eye out for them for that. And then we got Bradley Beal at 97, creeping up into that elite territory. And this guy, he dropped another 41 tonight. The guy's on a heater. And I mean, if Westbrook doesn't play, he's just going to have a ton of usage anyway. So how do you feel about Beal, and how do you feel about the rest of these pieces? Because the Heat are a pretty good defense outside of when you can't stop somebody because they're too good on offense.
Yeah, I mean, I think we should just get out of the way. If Westbrook is playing, then I think probably pretty much all the Wizards are out of play, or at least for me, just where I don't like to target the Heat when I can avoid it. We got a big enough slate, 7-game slate. So if Westbrook is in, the Wizards are going to be out for me. But if Westbrook is out, Beal 9,700. I mean, you can't argue the tag. It kind of looks crazy looking at it, but the guy has just had one of the most locked-in workloads of anybody, and we know Beal's minutes ceilings are better than pretty much anybody in the NBA. You have definite blowout risk, especially on the second night of a back-to-back. But man, I think it's a more than fair tag for him, and kind of depending on the value that shakes out, I think he's a guy you should definitely have in consideration in all formats.
Yeah, and I think some people might forget when they think, "Ooh, Russell Westbrook, how can Bradley Beal be great with him?" You might forget that Kevin Durant was an MVP when he played with Russell Westbrook. Paul George had the best year of his career when he played with Russell Westbrook. James Harden wasn't too bad himself when he played with Russell Westbrook. So you can't have a second alpha dog playing with Russell Westbrook. But yeah, I think if he plays, I'm not sure how much Beal exposure I want to get at that price tag. But again, if you put him in your lineup, I can't hate on it. The guy's been playing absolutely incredible. And if Westbrook sits, he's going to have well over 35% usage. That might even be a low mark for him. So he might. So that's I'll definitely consider him there, even if they try and double team him. So he can make the open pass. So he's definitely in play for me. More so if Westbrook sits, but I won't hate it if Westbrook plays as well. But there are other options, like you said, on this big slate that we don't have to lock ourselves into Beal just because he's hot against a tough matchup. But if he sits, Raul Neto is probably going to draw the start at 4,100. Yeah, you can do worse at getting a starting job, a guy who's probably going to play 30 or so minutes. Definitely over 20 at 4,100. But I'm not going to be targeting too much of this team outside of that.
Agreed.
All right, man. Let's jump on to this next one. And right before I do that, I do want to shout out our guys at Manscaped. Just listen up, guys. There are, to all the ball handlers out there, before you throw on your team's gear, make sure to take care of your below-the-waist grooming. Our partners at Manscaped are here to save your boys from taking on double teams of nagging defenders so you can stay clean and take care of yourself where it matters most. The Lawnmower 3.0 is a new thing from them, and it's simply the best hygiene tool for the modern man. Because of the ceramic blade and skin-safe technology, your snags will be reduced. The Perfect Package 3.0 comes with a new and improved lawnmower, waterproof cordless body trimmer, performance boxer briefs, and a travel bag for you to use when you're done quarantining. The Perfect Package 3.0 also comes with a crop preserver and crop reviver. The crop preserver is an anti-shaving ball deodorant, while the crop reviver is a spray-on toner for your downstairs. So right now, if you want, get 20% off and free shipping with the code HoopBall20. That's HOOPBALL20 at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com, and use the promo code HoopBall20. When things get hairy in the fourth quarter, make sure to call on your friends at Manscaped in the clutch time. All right, man, let's get on to this next game. We have the Cleveland Cavaliers against the Milwaukee Bucks, and there is no total or line on this one. The Bucks played tonight, so we're going to have to, or last night, we're going to have to wait for that one. They always wait until the morning to see who gets hurt, whatnot, and then they'll send it out when they feel like it. But there's no line currently on that one. But we have, on the Cavs side, we have Colin Sexton was questionable for this one. We have Darius Garland out, Matthew Dellavedova out, Kevin Porter Jr. out, Dante Exum out, Kevin Love out. A lot of people out, and if Colin Sexton does not play in this one, we're going to have Okoro, Chetty, the last Chedi. We're going to have Dotson start at point guard again. It's just going to be not an ideal situation, but they're going to need Colin Sexton to play at their peak. I'm going to say I thought he was going to give it a go last game, but he didn't. He was very close, so I would assume he's going to play this one. He was warming up. They said he looked good, and all of a sudden late scratch. Maybe they said, maybe he didn't respond too well after 10 minutes or so rest, and they wanted to just give him one more day. I'm going to assume he's going to play in this one. And then we got a little bit of a difficulty. We have Andre Drummond at 87. Usually I really like Andre Drummond, but in this particular matchup, Brook Lopez is going to try and draw him out as far as possible away from the paint. And then Giannis is there as well. So if he's outside of the paint and he has to run in to try and do what he does best and rebound and protect the rim, there's also Giannis there trying to grab rebounds as well. At 87, I think we have other options around there that we can look at. Most of the guys on this team, I'm not looking at too much. I don't really think there's too much for me to like in this particular matchup. Larry Nance is going to be guarding Giannis, and vice versa. So no, thank you. Osman has been playing pretty well, but if Colin Sexton comes back, I can't see him having a fourth consecutive 7-assist game. And then now he's pretty priced accordingly. He's over 6K at 6.2. Dotson, who's going to have starter minutes, whether he might start either way, whether Sexton plays or not, but I just don't trust the guy. And Isaac Okoro, pretty solid, but he doesn't do too much for me, so I'm pretty much going to avoid this game, and it also might turn into a blowout.
Yeah, this cannot be a worse matchup for Drummond. Brook Lopez is possibly the best rim protector in basketball. um, in terms of just paint defense. And obviously Giannis is the best help defender, the best probably everything defender in basketball. And just everything Drummond wants to do, the Bucks are perfectly suited to just completely shut it down. And which is great because Drummond has been beyond the biggest nuisance for me this season because he projects so well every slate. And the Cavs coach has decided that he's just got to run JaVale McGee out there for 18 to 20 minutes a game and not play Drummond the 35 minutes he deserves. So I'll be happily fading Drummond in this spot. And everyone else is just like, I can't imagine a worse position to attack. Milwaukee, going to Milwaukee on the road, and you're missing almost all of your best offensive players. Sexton, even if he plays, is probably not 100%. The one guy I would look at if you do need the value, but man, I played this guy last night, and I just couldn't believe. I was like, oh, wow, I had 38 Okoro minutes, and the dude just did absolutely nothing the second half. Like, it was like, I love him as a player. I think he's going to be a really, really valuable player, but he is just not a great fantasy asset right now. But 3,900, I think you can once again lock in like 35 to 36 minutes. I mean, you're hoping for 22, 23 fantasy points, but I mean, depends how the value shakes out, but I think he should at least be in consideration for your value plays.
Yeah, I can see that. And let's go on to this other side, and we could possibly be a blowout here, but we're going to go to the Bucks side of the things, and we have Giannis at 10-8, and Giannis is Giannis, and Giannis is also the second highest player on this slate outside of Luka, who's going against just a depleted Orlando team. For me, as I always say, Giannis is never a terrible option. I mean, you can never say, oh, I have Giannis. I don't know how I feel about it. I mean, he's the back-to-back MVP for a reason. I'm going to lean a little bit Luka here, assuming he plays, because we don't. That's a very big question mark. We don't know who's going to be on Orlando, and we don't know who's going to be out for Dallas because somebody has caught the virus, and we don't know exactly who it is. But I did see that Luka said it was not him. So I feel very safe knowing that if that game plays, that Luka's good. But that game, we don't know if that game's even going to play yet. But if that doesn't play, then Giannis, I'll feel very safe with him. Outside of that, though, you have Middleton at 77, Drew at 66. Bobby Portis, to me, and it's funny that he's priced more than Brook Lopez, but he's been playing great. He's a guy that I would look at as a GPP pivot. I know he's at 54 now, and it seems crazy, but this game might get out of hand, and this is a matchup, especially if it gets a little bit out of hand, that he can just come in and then play 25 to 30 minutes and just do what this guy does and play hard. And then one thing I thought was hilarious, gonna lose track a little bit, go off the tracks, but there was Giannis had a confrontation last game, and they had him and his brother. First guy there getting in front of Giannis was Bobby Portis. He thought, ooh, there's a confrontation. He's the first guy there, and that's pretty much on character, on brand for this guy. As we all know, he threw some punches at a teammate a couple years ago and broke his jaw. So, guy's a tough guy, and this is a good matchup for him. I also think DiVincenzo at 5,100 is pretty solid value. He had a very poor game the last couple games with 9 points total, but he's doing other things around the board, and I think he just makes a decent value there. But outside of those two, I would go Middleton more than Drew Holiday in this game, but it just could turn ugly, so I can't fully trust those guys to bring a big return on investment.
Agreed, for the most part. I think Giannis is going to be a really difficult spend, especially coming off, the way they operate. Just in general, they don't like to push these guys, their starters whatsoever. And if it's any sort of a blowout, they'll happily keep Giannis in the 27 to 28 minute range if they can. But he also has the ability to break the slate in 27 to 28 minutes. So if you find a build you really like, I wouldn't be opposed to any of these guys in tournaments. And everyone else is thinking that way too, where, oh, the Bucks are just going to blow out the Cavs. I'm not going to go there. So, maybe I think this is a good spot, especially in larger field GPPs, to maybe look at a game correlation. So if Sexton plays, maybe you play Sexton, Middleton, and Bobby Portis, something along those lines, and stack this game up, or just take a couple of the Bucks pieces and just kind of bet on this game staying close and staying competitive. You're just going to get unreal low ownership for all these really great players. And one thing I've especially learned in DFS is we're horrible at predicting blowouts for the most part. So you're just going to get tremendous leverage on all these guys and a really good defensive matchup. So I wouldn't be opposed in tournaments taking a couple shots.
Yeah, and just to play a little devil's advocate here with Giannis's minutes, a fun fact for the viewers out there: every other game Giannis has played this season has been at least 32 minutes. He's played in the 30s, then under 30 every other game. Last game he only played 28. So if we're going to go by that, he might be in play for at least 32 minutes in this one. Just to throw that out there, play a little bit devil's advocate.
I
don't know how long that trend will last, but it is a trend, and we have 4 or 5 games of that back and forth already. So
that's the Santino flag plant right there. Giannis will play 35 minutes.
32 minutes. It's an odd game. Giannis guaranteed 32 minutes. Lock it in.
There it is.
That's funny. But let's get on to this next one, man. We have the San Antonio Spurs coming off of beating both of the LA teams. Woo! In LA. Woo! And we have them playing against the Minnesota Timberwolves Pacers. I tried to make a joke there and it fell flat. Really, really flat. I did a Patria joke. The Minnesota Timberwolves with their super fast pace. We have the Spurs are 7-point road favorites, and the over-under is 226 in this one. On the injury report, we currently have the Wolves have Josh Okogie out. Karl Anthony Towns, questionable. I'm going to repeat that one. Karl Anthony Towns is questionable. I don't think he's going to play in this one. I think he'll play maybe next week at the earliest. But the fact that he is questionable, everybody get ready. You might have a top 5 talent back out there. Offensive monster. And then on the Spurs side, we have Drew Eubanks out, Andre Witherspoon out, and Derek White out. Let's start with the Spurs, man. And how do you feel about this very even-keeled Spurs-priced team?
I like the Spurs. I've been a huge Dejounte Murray fan for a couple of years now, and I think it's a lot of fun to see him kind of get extended and not always be on a minutes limit or coming off the injury. And they've had him in kid gloves for what seems like 2 years now, and I think he's really performing and showing just how big of a stud he can be in just about every category. So I love it. I think they found another gem in Keldon Johnson, and just if I were a bad team, bad owner, I would just try to poach as many San Antonio guys, front office guys, as I could, because it's like Keldon Johnson looks like just another guy who's going to be a really good starter at the 29th pick. I think all these guys are in play, honestly.
Yep.
And it couldn't be a better defensive matchup. There's always some blowout risk with the Timberwolves, but if Cat is back, that will definitely mitigate some of that blowout risk. A lot of these guys are popping as kind of build around plays on all formats. I really like DeRozan, Murray, Keldon Johnson. In particular, I think those 3 guys are you should really look to see how they fit into your cash course.
Yeah, and you said exactly what I was going to say. You play in the Wolves, you're in play for me. Just flat out. DeRozan, 78. I think he's probably more of a cash game guy. I just think he's super safe. Yeah, it's 78 against the Wolves. I 40 points is the bar for him, I believe. As long as this game's close, like you mentioned. Murray, 69. I think I'm gonna get value there too. Even Johnson, 65. I'd rather have Murray in this one for 400, but if you're looking for a forward at that price instead, and you already have your guard spots filled, Johnson's solid. LaMarcus Aldridge. I didn't think I would say that name again so soon, but he played 31 minutes the other night. So he looks like if he's going to play around 30, he's definitely in play for me at 6,300. Even Patty Mills, 4,300. This guy's going to play 25 minutes against this team. He could easily score you 25 to 35 DK points. Lonnie Walker is probably the one guy and one starter that I'm not totally in on here, but this is a good matchup for him too. He's a scorer, and this team gives up points. But those first guys, even Rudy Gay, 4,900. I don't expect him to play too many minutes, especially with Aldridge back. But he's a decent value. I think if you get 25 points, you hit value there, and I think he could get 25 to 30. So yeah, there's a lot of guys on this team that I like, especially in this matchup, and probably going to have a lot of Spurs exposures. But let's flip it on over to the Wolves side, and we have the big news of Cat. If Cat plays, can you play him? And if he doesn't, where are you looking? Or if he does, can you play anybody else if you don't play Cat? If he doesn't play, where do we look?
I don't think so. This is kind of all the reports I've seen is they're a little bit skeptical. It kind of seems like a real surprise report that he's actually potentially able to play this game. So if they did play him, it wouldn't surprise me if he's on a pitch count somewhere like 26 to 27 minutes. 30 is probably your ceiling, absolute ceiling for him in this game. And there's just too many other plays I would rather go for 9,600. I think it's a good enough matchup for him. And you're gonna get no ownership if he does end up playing, especially since this is after lock. And on a Saturday, people generally don't pay attention to news as much as they should on Saturdays. It's kind of a trend I've found. But yeah, I think I'm more than willing to go elsewhere. And then the rest of the team, just not a whole lot is popping for me. D'Angelo Russell is 8,100. That's probably efficient for his tag. And it's a little too expensive if Cat is in the game. And there's you just can't trust. You can't trust these Timberwolves, and they're all kind of up in price after the last 2 or 3 games where certain guys are getting an extended run. So I think it's just Spurs mainly for me.
Yeah, I'm pretty much there too. I don't think Karl Anthony Towns is going to play in this one. I said I think next week at the very earliest. I think this was just a hey, he's getting closer type of thing, but he's not ready. Outside of him, I like this team, and I always want to target them. I just think they're always so jumbled. For me, I'm probably the one guy I would target would be Malik Beasley at 61. He's always, every couple games he's always due for a heater, and this might be the one. And I said it like that, heater. This might be the one. And I guess if you wanted to, I like to always throw a bargain bin when I see one. That doesn't mean attack these bargain bins unless it's a safer role. But a bargain bin type of punt play, Jared Vanderbilt looks like he's carving himself out a role finally. And this guy is pretty talented when he has the opportunity. We've seen it on flashes in Denver. We've seen it in college. He's just a athletic type of guy who can grab rebounds, run all over the floor, and score a couple points. So I think at 42, he's another guy who's in play with me, especially if Cat doesn't play, obviously, and if you think this is going to lean towards a blowout. If it leans towards a blowout, he's definitely going to play more minutes. The guy is super young, but I think he's going to start stealing. Heard he is starting to steal Ed Davis's minutes. He might steal more Naz Reid's minutes because he might be better than Naz Reid. So that's something to look at there as well.
Yeah, if Cat is out, there's been a lot of chatter that just kind of on NBA Twitter and through some beat writers that that they should start Vanderbilt over Naz Reid and Ed Davis. And I think if he did start, this would be an awesome matchup for him. And I think his game overall is just very conducive to fantasy scoring. kind of reminds me a little bit of like maybe like a Chris Boucher almost, just the way he's just so active around the rim and getting in passing lanes.
I thought you were going to say Anthony Randolph.
No, that's not every skinny guy, but I think, yeah, I mean, I really like his defensive potential. I think he's a good, I think he's a great project for the Timberwolves to have. And it just doesn't make sense for them to be trotting Ed Davis out there, especially when they're just getting blown out every game if Cat's not in there. So I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up starting. And if he does end up starting, he has that double eligibility, 4,200. He would be one of the better values pretty easily on the slate.
I like it. And before we get to the next one, I quickly need to pause the show for an announcement, and it's a fun one. It's the Bruise Letter, guys. If you haven't heard me talk about it, the Bruise Letter is back and fresh for the 2020-2021 NBA season. It's our founder, Aaron Brewski, writing an email newsletter filled with his most intimate fantasy nuggets. It's exclusive content you cannot find anywhere else. It's not on the website, not on any podcast, not on any social media. It's only in the email newsletter, and you can sign up in 10 seconds as easily as going to bit.ly/bruiseletter 2021. And that's all you have to do. Go to bit.ly/bruiseletter 2021, sign up, 10 seconds. You get this free email newsletter filled with stuff you can't find anywhere else from Aaron Brewski straight to your inbox. Also, I do want to shout out the Fantasy Pass. If you don't have it already, the Fantasy Pass is still, we think, the best deal in the industry at just $4.99 per month. And now that we're into the regular season, there's zero commitment to sign up for 1 month. And if you don't like it, you can cancel. We know you'll love it, though, but it's always a nice option to have. The Fantasy Pass is everything you'll need to dominate all year. Updated projections, new fantasy appraiser tools, schedule and streaming charts, pickups, drops, and our newest feature and coolest feature, the Hoopball Discord server, where you can all hang out with Hoopball pros around the clock and get one-on-one help with your team. So please do check it out. Head to hoopball-.com and click on the Fantasy Ad Pass just below the main media wall. And if you just want the DFS pass to hang out with myself, Aaron, and the rest of the team, $1.99 per month, and you for the cup of a small coffee at I was going to say Dunkin' Donuts, but Mike reminded me that it's not everywhere. Aaron, I don't even think you have a Dunkin' Donuts. You're going to say what?
What is that? Dunkin' Donuts?
But for the small price of a cup of coffee at your local super coffee chain that is very widely available, you can get a fantasy pass for the month. But I digress. Let's get back into this schedule here. We got 2 more games left. We have Orlando and Dallas. Kind of touched on this game slightly earlier. We have on the over-under, we have 216.5, and we have Dallas as 7-point home favorites. On the injury report, we currently have nobody on the Magic because they played last night. And the Mavericks, they have Jalen Brunson, Dorian Finney-Smith, Kristaps Porzingis, almost messed that up, and Josh Richardson all out. And Trey Burke is probable. But that says something, and we'll go to Orlando here. Orlando, we have Evan Fournier. He might not play. He didn't play on Friday. Aaron Gordon didn't play on Friday, but he should be back. Michael Carter-Williams is hurt, but he may be back. They said it's a shorter-term thing. That's what I saw from one of the beat writers. And we also know Markelle Fultz is not playing. Jonathan Isaac's not playing. Aminu Okeke, they're not playing. But looking at this matchup, 8,800, we mentioned a few people around that price tag. 8,800 for Vucevic is pretty solid to me. This guy's he does what he does, and he does it pretty well. I think everybody on the Dallas side doesn't match up great against him. You have Maxi Kleber. You have Dwight Powell, who can't run with him right now, and Willie Cauley-Stein, who's more just in the paint type of guy. I think Vucevic's a very good play here, and I will have some exposure to Vucevic. Aaron Gordon got the night off. He still hasn't hit that 30-minute mark, which it's just baffling to me. I really wanted to play him, but it's hard to play him knowing that he won't get 30 minutes. But, I mean, they'd have no Josh Richardson, no Dorian Finney-Smith, no defense. So he might be in play for me as well. But I probably would lean towards maybe a Ross here if I had to go there, or possibly the rookie. But I don't fully trust him, knowing that they don't want to extend him and he was tired after that first one. So that's where I'm going to look. I'm probably just going to stick with Vucevic and get my lock him up into one of the safe of choices and take my stuff there. And if I really want to search for some value, there is a couple guys with value down here, like Dwayne Bacon's going to be starting if Evan Fournier doesn't play. I guess you can take a look at Kem Burke and Gary Clark if Gordon, there was something worse on that, but I just think he was just resting.
Yeah, so all signs do point to Gordon playing. Just every beat reporter said is the back-to-back, they wanted him for the second night. And I couldn't agree more on Vooch. I mean, the guy is just an absolute hero. Like, the Magic are getting blown out by 40, but this dude still puts up 46 fantasy points in 30 minutes. And he's just good. He's just a really freaking good player. And if he were anywhere not on the Magic, I think he would get significantly more recognition for how good and consistent he is as a player. So hopefully the Magic trade him to the Mavericks or something like that, so he can play with the second stud and get in the playoffs. Because I'd love to see it. He's one of my guys where it's like he needs to get out of the Magic hellhole. But anyway, going to the value plays, Gary Clark. I mean, he just is what he is. He shoots threes and he gets rebounds. He doesn't contribute in assists, blocks, steals. He's not going to create off the dribble. So if you run into a hot shooting game, I guess he can get there. Just not. I'm never a guy who wants to hope my player gets like 17 fantasy points where you're just praying for it. So he's, I guess, if you have to. James Ennis is, I think he's still kind of coming off the minutes restriction. He did, I can't imagine he's going to be any more extended tonight. After the second night of the back-to-back, he might even be resting tomorrow with Aaron Gordon coming back. So I would watch him. The rookie, unfortunately, I had my lineup all set tonight with Cole Anthony and just ready to go, and just that news that he's just not going to take over the Fultz workload.
Yeah,
I think that's just so harmful for a DFS play, especially when he's this price at 5,500. Part of what you're paying for is you're paying for a bell curve when you're investing in these guys. And you're kind of hoping, maybe 15-20% of the time he gets to that upper end of his minutes echelon, whether it's like an overtime game or it's just a really close game where the starters get extended, and that that has to go into your decision to play these guys. And it just seems like Cole Anthony's just upper end, where like 38-40 minutes of an overtime game where he's balling and they don't take him out. That just doesn't seem like it exists anymore after that report, where 30 just seems like the absolute ceiling for his minutes. So I want to play him. I think I like him as a player. I think he can contribute in a lot of categories. But man, second night of the back-to-back, especially with just workload concerns, I don't think he can go there.
Yeah, and I'm with you. But let's flip on it over. Flip on it. Let's flip it over to the Dallas side, and with everybody out, ding, ding, ding. It's just go to Luka. I mentioned it earlier, and that's Luka would be my play with all those guys in. Without Josh Richardson, who isn't huge on possessions and huge on usage, but it's something. They don't have his backup in Jalen Brunson. Trey Burke is probable, but he might be a late scratch. Dorian Finney-Smith's out. I mean, Luka is this team, and he's just going to have the usage. Last two games, he's over 70 DK points. Even if he has a down game and he scored 30 points the last two games over that, even if he scores 27, he's still going to do enough to get you value here. So I think he's just at the top of the list of the guys that, if I'm paying up for someone, I'm going to go all the way up to Luka, because I know 60 should be the floor here. 55 playing it if you want to play very conservative. I think you know what you're getting here, and you're playing a banged up Orlando team, and your team is also banged up. So I don't think a blowout scenario is too likely for them to where he might not play a full complement of minutes. I think he's going to be on the floor pretty much all game, and doing his thing. Outside of him, I don't know who has that. What's it called? Who got the virus here in particular? I don't know if we have that news yet. So outside of the people that are listed out already, I don't know if I can fully trust Tim Hardaway Jr. And even with Luka there, I'm not huge on him. I don't know if I can fully trust Maxi Kleber. I don't mind Willie Cauley-Stein if he's the one that didn't get it at 44K. I think he can bring you back value there. I just want to know who's the one who's not going to play on this team. That's the key here for me.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. Just Luka had a couple really rough games. He kind of just had a bad start to the year, honestly, just for the standards we held for him. And then you just look at the game logs in the last three, 58, 71, and 77 fantasy points. And it's like, that's the MVP Luka we kind of expected heading into the year. And you said it, just you're taking one of their only other ball handler scorers off the floor, and Richardson. You're taking one of their key rotation players, Dorian Finney-Smith, off the floor. Is Josh Green going to start chucking a bunch of shots? I don't think so. I think Luka and Jokic right now just have an absolutely unreal workload where they're the top offensive option scorer and they have to do all the playmaking. I think it's very similar to what Harden was doing the last couple of years, where just so much offensive responsibility is placed on these guys. And if you said it, you look at the supporting cast around him, who else is going to do anything? And I think that the nice thing is with how limited Dallas is, you can kind of expect a close game. I don't think you're going to see Dallas really blow out the Magic. And, maybe Luka only gets, like 28, 30 minutes or something like that. If it's a close game, Luka's going to be out there 35 plus minutes at a minimum. So, I really want to play Trae Young. I want to play some of these other guys, but in cash games, I think you start with Luka and go from there.
Yeah, that's the way I'm looking at it too. Go to Luka and then go from there. And maybe James Johnson might get the start here. And if he gets the start, and I know he's going to play 25 minutes, he has that weird fantasy game where I think that's cheap, easy value for him at that price. Knowing that Finney-Smith and Richardson and these people are going to be out, I don't think they're going to go massively big, and they'll need someone like James Johnson. He probably plays the 4 in this one, so he's a guy I'd look at as well.
Agreed.
But let's go on to this last game, man. We have the Portland Trailblazers at the Sacramento Kings, and there is no point spread or total for this one because the Kings are on the second night of a back-to-back. But I can tell you that I can't imagine this total being under 230. If it's not the highest on the night, it's damn sure going to be right up there with it. But we'll go to the injury report for the Blazers side. We just have Zach Collins out. Everybody else is off at the moment. And the Kings, again, second night of back-to-back. We don't have a full injury report on them as of yet. But De'Aaron Fox, big news. He did play. He was in the lineup against the Raptors, so I'm assuming he would be in it again unless they really want to play it cautious with him. But if that was the case, he would have just missed the Raptor game and played against the Blazers. But let's start with the Blazers, the away team, who probably are going to be giving, I want to say, 2.5, 3 points. Well, let's start right at the top. How do you feel about these guards and Nurkic, who's starting to improve, Covington, who had a decent game, and everybody else? How are you feeling about them?
Yeah, I think starting with Nurkic is a good spot. There was, I don't know if you saw it, the report came out today where there's kind of like an expose where he felt guilty about leaving, I think, his grandmother during COVID times when he went to the bubble. So he spent the whole summer in Bosnia, and he's looking. Basically, he said he's just not in shape yet. He's getting back into game shape, and that definitely makes sense. Where he's struggled this year. He hasn't really gotten. I don't think he's played above 30. He's only played above 30 minutes one game the whole season, and he just hasn't looked right. But if thinking about it in that context, if he's not in shape yet, that makes sense. So unfortunately, I don't think he's a guy. He's a guy I would love to attack at this price tag, 6,500. but I think they're going to keep being cautious with him. Just probably keeping him around that 25, 26-minute range, and they're obviously very comfortable with Cantor as his backup. So unfortunately, I don't think I can go to Nurkic. And then everything else just goes to these two guards, Dame and CJ. If this game can stay close, this is the spot you want to attack Damian Lillard. Unfortunately, my three favorite plays, Dame, Trey, and Luka, cost about $35,000 of the salary cap. So you're gonna have to make some tough calls here, but I think you said it. This is going to be probably the highest total game of the slate. It's going to be a really nice up-tempo spot, and Dame just doesn't leave the floor in close games, and his offensive role is guaranteed. And he showed you the ceiling in that Minnesota game where he put up 39 in just 29 minutes in the blowout. So, man, it's some tough calls. I think in tournaments, you can just kind of. I think my initial plan is just going to be just play two of them in every lineup and just cycle through different lineups that way. But I would not fault you in the slightest if he's in your cash core, tournament core, anything like that.
Yeah, and I like that. And we're starting to see McCollum come a little bit back down to earth. He's still playing really well, but he's not putting up those consistent 50, 60-point type games. I know he did it a couple games ago, but the last two, more towards the CJ McCollum that I expect, which at 8,600, I'll just pay $900 and get Dame. So I'm with you there. I think you can definitely play two of them. It's kind of like you said, it's going to be hard to play all the big guys here, but this game should be very, very high scoring, and it's going to probably be, if not the highest, the second highest total on the slate. And yeah, if you don't get any of those guard exposures, because let's be honest, this team is mainly Lillard, McCollum. They eat first, especially while Nurkic is playing himself back in shape. But I don't mind Nurkic at 65. Very good price tag. I think he's a decent matchup. Rashawn Holmes is a good defender, but when Nurkic is back to being Nurkic, that's a price tag that we're not going to see too much longer. Maybe 2 weeks, I'd say, at max, until he's back into shape, and that price tag is going to be a thing of the past. So I'm going to try and get as many shares as I can until then. If he's still not up to tip-top shape and he doesn't give me a huge value there, I'll eat it, because I know at some point he's going to. Outside of them, if I don't play Nurkic and I go away from Lillard and McCollum, I want exposure to this Blazers team some way, some shape, some form. I might just go Enes Kanter. I know he's the backup, but he does what he does, and he does it really well. And I don't mind looking at him there, or Gulp. Everybody else really just plays where they play. And if you think this is the Covington game, I don't mind that as well. But I do want some exposure some way, somehow, to this Blazers team.
Yeah, I think a great way to approach Nurkic, it's just not for me, just the tournaments I play. But if you're a guy who makes 5+ lineups a night, just have him every night, just every game he's in, and just be the first one, be on the first spiked game he has, because it's coming. It's just the way Nurkic is as a player. He's kind of in that Jonas Valanciunas mold where he doesn't need 35 minutes to put up a 50 fantasy point game. He can get there in a variety of different ways, and we kind of won't know when he's back in shape. Just all of a sudden he'll play 33 minutes again, and you're like, oh well, I guess Nurkic's back. And if you get that at 6,500, that's just absolute money. So I think that's the way I would approach Nurkic, just not for me.
Yeah, feel you on that one. But how about the Kings side of things? We think this game's gonna be high scoring, we're gonna run it back with a team that put up 74 points in the first half against the Raptors. So we know that they want to score and run it a little bit too.
Yeah, I think you gotta. Hopefully, we can get some more information on Fox, because he had he played 15 minutes. They just finished halftime as we were recording this. He played 15 minutes in the first half on an apparent minutes limit. So I'm assuming that means he'll be around 30 today. So I'm guessing he'd be somewhat safe for that tomorrow, or maybe he'll have it lifted tomorrow. Doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to have a guy on a minutes limit on the first night of a back-to-back, but hey, Luke Walton. And this is unfortunate. You just can't go there on the slate at 8,300. We've talked about it. Dame Lillard, Trae Young, Luka, all those guys are point guard only eligibility, and you're not saving enough money to get off them to get to Fox, who's at 8,300. And especially with some current concerns, there might be he might sit tomorrow. Maybe he doesn't feel great after this game. I just wouldn't do it. I would focus on the top three guys we've been talking about. Outside of that, I think everyone's priced kind of too efficiently for me. Marvin Bagley was having his career game against the Bulls and still sat the last 8 minutes of crunch time. So it's like, I mean, what does this guy have to do to stay on the floor in crunch time? But I can't go there. Harrison Barnes has been really good to start the year. He's probably been the Kings' most consistent player, but you're kind of paying for it at 6,400. Buddy Hield has not been good, and his price hasn't come down to reflect that yet. He's still really way too expensive at 6,800. Rashawn Holmes, I think, it's a pretty good matchup for Rashawn Holmes. He's probably the best value of all these guys at 6K. It's definitely a tough matchup against two really good offensive centers, Nurkic and Kanter, but they're going to need him. They're going to need the defense. So, and just the way Walton has been running him out there, Whiteside is just totally out of the rotation at this point. So he'll get every opportunity to match up against those two. That's about it for me. How about you? How about yourself?
Yeah, I think Holmes is my favorite play on this team just because of his price tag as well. I think Fox is really good, but we talked about a few people that I like a little bit better and similarly priced. Buddy Hield, not bad too, but there are some people that I just like a little bit. I know I said I want people on this slate, and I want this slate, but I think Rashawn Holmes to me is the best value of this team, and he's going to be the one guy I get the most exposure to here. Outside of him, if I was going to go guard-wise, I like Halliburton. I wish he was more or closer to the 5K range because I would probably be more all over him on that because this kid's good. But I don't know if I can pay near 6K when I like Holmes 200 more there. One thing that I find funny is the Whiteside possible revenge game. That would be something. That would be interesting, and I would love him at the 3,200. But I don't know if he plays 10 minutes. I mean, if you play him in a tournament, you're being very risky. You got some balls, but I don't know if I do and if I can actually go that route. But I do think if he can see 15 minutes or so in this game, he'll definitely bring back. I think he's going to want to show. No one else wanted to sign me, especially you guys, and he'll bring some value back there. But again, that guy doesn't play.
Yeah, I mean, he's just out of the rotation, just straight up out of the rotation. And it might be matchup based where you do get just have him for 10 minutes go beat up Nurk and just two big body centers. But I mean, it's just a hope and a prayer for 10
or maybe Kanter because they're pretty both just guys who can't do anything outside the paint. So maybe that as well. All right, man. It looks like we knocked out this slate. Before we go, is there anything else you want to say? And I do have one question after that for you, right before we go.
Sure. I just want to keep plugging the Discord. We're slowly but surely we're getting a lot of people in there, and I think the first week we had it out, we had like 2 or 3 subscribers posting regularly, and went in there today, and we had it looked like starting to look like a really great chat. So I think that's worth the price of admission for the DFS pass, and you get access to all of us, and we're all hopping in there throughout the day for the most part, just talking about the slate and getting better.
Awesome. And I do have to ask, out of everybody on the slate, and I'm going to talk a little, give you a second to pick, who is your favorite play of the night? It could be position eligibility, Could be just you think they're rock stars. It could be pricing. Any scenario or any case of why you want to. But who is your Aaron Asmus rock solid play of the night or AARP guy of the night?
AARP. I think Luka would be the easy way out, but I think the guy for me is Trae Young. He's coming off the horrible game. Only took 9 shots in 35 minutes against the very same Hornets team. I think he's severely depressed price tag, and this is just the spot where you want to jump on a stud guy like this, where people are mad at him after he busted last game. Game log watchers are going to look at the 16 points and be like, "Oh, I can't play him." He was horrible last game. So the public won't be as high on him. I think he's going to project extremely well, and he just has one of the best locked-in workloads of anybody in the NBA. So it's Trae Young for me.
I like it, and I'd probably throw out a more value type of guy or mid-tier type of guy since you went with the big guy. I really like, and I want to say pretty much everybody on this team, but I'll stick with DeJounte Murray. They're at 6,900. I want to say DeRozan. I want to say Aldridge. I want to say pretty much this entire Spurs team, but I'll stick with the guy that I know or take the $900 price tag, point guard eligibility, and say Murray. Just this matchup is fantastic for him.
Yeah, I think you're gonna have a tough time picking these point guards, man.
Yeah,
DeJounte Murray, Trae Young, Dame Lillard, Luka,
probably gonna have 3 of them.
Yeah,
it is. All right, man. This is a good one, and we did this nice slate. And before we go, everybody follow Aaron on Twitter at Aaron Asmus, follow Aaron on Twitter at Asmus Sports. And you can follow me on Twitter at Santino Cacone. And just to let you guys know, just a reminder again, we are looking for more contributors on our Hoopball DFS squad. So if you have any interest, whether it's big, small, whatever the case may be, if you think you can help and you think you can fit, give us a shout out or try and connect with us, and we'll see what we can do. We'll give you a call. But yes, we are looking for more people. We want to expand this thing, and everybody come apply if you want to.
This has been a Hoop Ball presentation.